back. Okay. All right. Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. On this week's episode, Avatar sees life at the top once again. Avatar sees life at the top once again. It's time for our annual pitch meeting. And who is the worst of the worst? My voice is scratchy today. And who is the worst of the worst at the Razzies? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. Who is the worst of the worst at the Razzies? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. I'm all messed up because of all these things. All right.
You just gotta pick a window and look at it.
I know. I gotta pick a window. It's all messy. God, you can do it. Get it together. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at Pop Culture Cosmos, including our awesome Twitch page, which we're on right now, live and in living kind of live-ish color.
Laggish
yeah,
color.
Laggish color. Because we're lagging a little bit, but we'll get that fixed up for next time. It's Pop Culture Cosmos on Twitch, with the underscores there included. Plus, you can also catch our great RPG streams. So if you do that and catch all of our stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, anything that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own Razzie Award winner of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also as well, check out his awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck, which you can go ahead and get right now at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Plus, also check out his great shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's going on? It's just a fine, gloomy Sunday here in Texas, and I am excited to talk some pop culture. I'm sorry, I was thinking about this. They just opened a used bookstore in the mall next to us that has all these like used DVDs. So I'm like discovering all these pop culture things that I had completely forgotten about over the years. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I've been pretty excited about it. They got like DVDs, movies, video games, comic books. So it's my kind of place, you know.
Sounds like it. Hey, I wanted to ask you real quick before we get into the show and I announce all that good stuff that we're going to be listening to today. Your thoughts quickly on finally the Xbox and Bethesda Love Fest. I mean, 20 titles are they just dropped 20 Bethesda titles onto the Xbox Games Pass from the past. I know something that Marcus and I talked about at length on the Friday show, PC Multiverse. So if you want to hear more on that, please check that out. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on Xbox and Bethesda.
So this is a long time coming. Like they finally got the deal in ink and it's official. And we just got they showed this beautiful trailer that had little snippets of everything that's gone by and like reasons, what this merger means. And I actually just downloaded Morrowind through the Games Pass. So I'm excited to jump back into that when I get a chance. This is a big deal. Everyone keeps talking about how the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, had been saying that like, hey, never say never with exclusivity. But it sounds like he's only, from what I'm gathering from his, this little video and what he said in interviews, is that they're honoring the exclusivity deals that are currently in place, but there's no guarantee that things coming out are going to be exclusive or not, or sorry, are going multiple platforms. He said never say never, but he said I guess the reason they secured this contract was for Xbox customers. So that's something that's kind of cool to know, and especially since like Sony, look at their contracts with Square. They don't really seem to care about what gamers on other platforms want. So this is kind of a big weapon in their arsenal of stuff, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for this. As for right now, I do admire and respect the fact that they are continuing to support things on other platforms, and they have announced that during the Summer Gaming Conference, we're going to see some big things from Bethesda, which I'm assuming are going to be Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 and whatever else they might be working on. But I would love to see like some Elder Scroll remasters hit current consoles as well, as we've talked about before.
Two things I had issues with. The thing was, I would have been nice, especially coming off the heels of what Sony had presented last week,
Yeah.
Pokemon had presented last week, and then Nintendo the week before. Some new things, like just a little smidgen of Starfield, just a little smidgen of Elder Scrolls 6. Would have been nice if you teased a little bit of that. I think it would have been more appropriate.
Yeah, and I think they were in a precarious spot with the summer gaming conferences hitting they're usually hitting July or May.
Well, actually, the E3 June and all that.
Yeah, well, yeah, May. Yeah, there's May, June. They usually start trickling out around that time. So I feel like they probably have some stuff ready to be revealed, but they don't. They're trying to save it for those big conferences because look at the last couple of Xbox conferences. They've been notoriously disappointing. So I think that they're trying to really like hit all those stops like perfectly.
I wanted to ask you this as well before we head on again to the rest of the show. And thank you so much for listening, by the way, to us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. And that is with the Xbox Bethesda deal, they talked about some things going exclusive. What would you put as an exclusive? I mean, obviously, they're going to be supporting other brands with certain products. I speculated out that it would be great if they did either a 1 year or an exclusive thing for something higher. I mean, really high profile. I know Starfield will probably be an Xbox exclusive. I wouldn't be surprised at that because that's a brand new IP. But if they did something like Elder Scrolls for maybe a year exclusivity or a Fallout, which would probably be even better because Fallout 76 was not that great, and they need to recover the platform itself for Fallout, and it would be nice if Fallout would be just an Xbox exclusive per se. I think that would be a better move just to show that to get people in. I mean, you spent $7 billion on the product, and you need to make some things exclusive, yes, but you also need to make some high profile exclusive. I mean, Starfield's great and all, but I don't think it was going to bring in more customers over to Xbox from PlayStation if you just put Starfield on there as an exclusive. You need to go ahead and put some of your high profile games as just exclusive products and just say, we're going to bite the bullet on whatever sales and just say, you got to come over an Xbox and play.
So that's a very good point because this is Xbox's first like big exclusive RPG, like RPG company or maker, I guess. So you look at that, Sony has notoriously singled out Final Fantasy, right? Like that's one of the biggest JRPGs, I guess if you can call it JRPG, to find popularity in the West, and they continue to do these deals time after time. And looking at Final Fantasy 16, that'll probably stay exclusive to PS5, and going for all hopes of the Final Fantasy 7 remake making it to Xbox is probably dashed now because from what I understand, they're renewing a lot of exclusivity contracts. So this is, I mean, I totally agree. I think that it would be smart to have something like Elder Scrolls. I mean, I don't necessarily know about Fallout because Fallout has a big PC. So does Elder Scrolls, I guess. But
well, remember, everything goes exclusive to Xbox goes to PC
as well. Yeah. So I mean, I think that if you were, because there's so many Elder Scrolls. Like, look at PSVR, right? That was one of their first experiments with VR was through Elder Scrolls, and a lot of Elder Scrolls copies have sold on the PS4. So I think that if they were to make Elder Scrolls exclusive to Xbox, they would be basically be saying like, "Hey, we're here and we mean business. Like we're done being this company that kind of like waits in the shadow and are nice to our enemies, but our enemies continuously like treat us poorly." I think that this would making Elder Scrolls exclusive would really be making a statement.
I know Marcus was harping on the fact that cross-platform needs to happen. It does need to happen. It
Oh
needs to
yeah,
happen. Yeah, but
it
as a way of bringing in, more people to Bethesda and Xbox. But I don't think that would be necessarily the number one thing that would bring people over in this case. I think that you spent $7 billion in a product, and you've been number two or number three in the console race now forever.
mhm.
If you want to ever become number one, you have to start taking bold steps. And PlayStation 5 has already taken the early lead in this console generation. And the only way to recover and surpass and ultimately pass, like we're going to talk about here in a second on a certain movie, is you got to do something out of the box. And if that's the case, you got to go ahead and make something exclusive.
Yeah.
I think you got to choose one, Fallout or Elder Scrolls, and say, you know what, got to make exclusive. Starfield, Wolfenstein, as much as I love the Wolfenstein series, I don't think any of those series outside of Fallout or Elder Scrolls will click enough with an audience to say, you know what, we got to go ahead and buy an Xbox because
Yeah.
it's exclusive to that platform.
I think that we're gonna see a lot of like timed exclusivity for sure, and then I think only time will tell. I feel like Elder Scrolls is probably gonna be the one that they keep close to their chest, but I think for sure with everything Bethesda makes from this point out, except for Deathloop and all the stuff that's already contractual, we are going to see timed exclusivity at least for the first 6 months of release.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's another great conversation we had right here on Xbox and Bethesda. But I want to hear your thoughts out there if you have any on Xbox and Bethesda. Now, they're official, the partnership, the Xbox buying Bethesda is now done deal. The ink's wet, it's already taken care of. I mean, ink's dry, it's the contracts have been signed, all that's been taken care of, everything's been approved, and it's now full steam ahead for Xbox and Bethesda. We want to hear your thoughts if Xbox should just go ahead and make Bethesda games exclusive to their platform and PC. We want to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, once again, we got a great episode we've got lined up for you. We've got Oscar nominations coming out as you hear this on Monday or anytime during the week. They'll be out and about. We're going to speculate on what we think will be there as far as some of the main things we're talking about, as far as some of the main categories. We'll talk about some of the movies and performances that we think stand out that are deserving of the Oscar nominations. The opposite of that, the Oscar nominations are not yet announced as we record, but the Razzie nominations have already been announced. So we'll talk about the worst of the worst in 2020 coming up here in a little bit as well. On the back end of the show, I know we're going to have a little snippet of a conversation that you had just recently, Josh.
Yeah, with John and Jason of Lost Cult Publishing, like they are creating a gaming journal that are supposed to their aim is to make it and make them each into collector volumes with in-depth thoughts on PlayStation and Xbox and just a history of gaming. Their goal is to preserve gaming history, and they're hoping to do that through this by writing articles that aren't necessarily, or articles and stories that aren't necessarily bound by the shackles of marketing and other things, just like niche video game topics that you probably didn't know that you really wanted to know about. And I think that this is a very beautiful product, and I hope that a lot of people, pick up a copy or contribute to their Kickstarter. But yes, I have an interview with them. It'll and hopefully like it'll be something that really gets people interested in, because I am for one, I am interested in it.
I am interested in hearing it too. We're going to play a little smidget of it on the back end of the show. And then for everybody out there that wants to hear the entire conversation that Josh had with John and Jason from Lost Cult Publishing, you can go ahead and hear that on all your podcast outlets on Wednesday. I will drop that episode on Wednesday. That's Josh's interview with John and Jason from Lost Cult Publishing. The entire interview will be available on the Pop Culture Cosmos outlets wherever you get your podcasts. We also wanted to go ahead and mention before we hit the break that we will be live at PodVComm, a great podcasting conference. It's going to be an awesome time indeed. In fact, it's already started now. So after after you listen to us either live or after you check out our podcast, check out PodVComm with two M's. Just type that in social media, PodVComm. It's going on all this weekend as we're talking, and then it's going to go on all next weekend. So check out that next weekend as well. We're going to be there March 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's March 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern. Josh, myself, and Marcus de la Garza. Marcus just absolutely loves when we go ahead and we get all together like this. So we're going to go ahead and do that because it's a special time. PodVComm, March 21st. Josh, I think I have a feeling you know what we're going to be talking about on that day because Justice League will have already been out.
Yes, sir.
And the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier will have already been released. So I have a feeling you and I are going to be talking about a lot of great things of pop culture at PodVComm next Sunday.
Crazy excited. Gonna be fun. Always a good time when we get the three of us together.
Absolutely. I know he always talks about how he looks forward to it. So we're looking forward to being part of PodVComm next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And you will hear it as far as our appearance next Monday and next week as well at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Coming up next, there is a new number one all-time movie again. We'll talk about Avatar beating Avengers Endgame right after the break. I'm so sad about that too. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford along with my good friend, Mr. Josh Peterson, our own Razzie Award winner, as I said earlier. How do you like the sound of that, my friend?
That was good. That was good. Yeah. I would love to have a collection of Razzies, by the way. I would consider it an honor.
You know, I need to talk to Adam Sandler because he's been nominated over 30 times. So I think he's got a few in his collection. He may let you have one. Or he may have a garage sale, man.
Yeah,
if he has a garage sale, there's probably a few lying out there you can buy for
I'll reach out to him. Just let me adam.sandler@gmail.com. I'll reach out.
Sounds good indeed. But there's some bad news in the world of film for Marvel fans out there, and that the recent overtaking in what was it 2020 of Avengers Endgame, overtaking the top spot for Avatar when it came out in 2019 when Avengers Endgame overtook Avatar for the number one spot all time. We had speculated, I believe at that time, Josh, that since there was such a close margin for error, or in this case close margin for recapturing the title, that all Avatar had to do was do a re-release all Disney had to do was do a re-release for Avatar and it would regain that top spot. And sure enough, to entice moviegoers back into the theaters after a long break for many from as far as what's going on with coronavirus and all that, in China, they have re-released Avatar this past weekend, and it with the success of that movie in China, in its re-release, it has regained the number one movie, has regained the top spot as the top movie of all time. So I ask you, my friend, first off, got a couple questions on this for you because I want to go in deep with this. Are you happy that the Na'vi and Avatar are once again number one all time?
Do you know, like, when you're a teenager and you have friends over at your house, but you have, like, this annoying kid brother that just kind of follows you around everywhere and you can't get rid of him?
Yeah.
That's what Avatar is. Like, this movie, it's such a crying shame because Marvel is, like, 10 years, a legacy of 10 years worth of films, and Avatar is one annoying film that people just will not shut up about. Okay, when I say annoying, I mean, I think it's a visual feast. It's a masterpiece of cinematography and CGI, but it's just let it go. Like James Cameron has been talking for years and years about Avatar 2, Avatar 3. Hey, guess what? We just secured funding for Avatar 35. Like, we haven't seen the legacy of this film is so weird just because it keeps getting re-released and people talk about it so much. Like, I don't understand like what makes it a better film than Avengers Endgame. and it's to me, it feels like it's cheating. It feels like it's cheating that just because they re-release it somewhere that it overtakes Endgame in cinema. Because like if you were to re-release Endgame here in America, like right now, especially as AMC's getting ready to reopen, I'm sure it would retake that title. I don't know. I'm annoyed by this.
Well, I'm going to say this, my friend. I'm not happy with it either. I mean, Avatar, at the time, it was ahead of its time. I did go see it in the theaters. I know it was an event. Everybody seemed to be interested, especially worldwide. Worldwide, it caught on with an audience worldwide that was just fascinated by it. But then
Yeah.
it dropped off the face of the earth. And as Rob McCallum and I said over the years, it was Rob McCallum told me in an interview like a few years ago, he said Avatar had lost its cultural footprint. And I thought that was probably the best way to describe that as far as
Yeah.
it not resonating. In fact, I used to run Halloween stores, and you would find Avatar stuff on the clearance rack because nobody would want it. Nobody would desire it here in the States. And it seems like it's something that it does resonate with a certain audience. And the re-release for a lot of people in China, they may have not seen it the first time. In fact, there's a lot of people out there on social media who are saying, I've never seen the film. The hundreds of thousands of times it's been on cable stations here, thousands of, I mean, 10 years plus it's been available on DVD and all that. People haven't gone out of the way to see it. Gone out of the way to see it. It's been something like, it was there, it was big, it was huge, and then it dropped off the face of the earth, and it's not
Right.
resonated with an audience since.
Yeah.
But there is an audience for it apparently. I mean, a lot of people are still fascinated by it. I mean, at the
It,
time, it was special effects that was really cutting edge, but now it's just something that I think the storyline for me is just something. It's the reason why I never went back, because I thought the story was just somewhat underwhelming.
is I mean, looking at it now, looking at this reclamation of the throne, is it because it still resonates with people, or is it because it's the only thing to watch? Like, if you were to take all the animals away from a zoo except for one, of course that enclosure is going to be packed. Like, do you think that has anything to do with it?
Well, I think there's still a crowd that wants to see it. Or I think there's still an audience that it does resonate with. I mean, for you and I mean, we saw it and we're done with it and moved on. It wasn't something that stuck with us. Like, for instance, I'm not wearing an Avatar shirt. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Why is that? Because back in 1979 on CBS, and then especially 1980, back in 1980 when I went to go see Empire Strikes Back, I mean, I saw that and I was hooked from there on in. I saw what the audience was reacting to and I was hooked, and I saw the magic and splendor of what the Star Wars universe is all about. I mean,
Right.
you can look behind me. I don't have any Avatar stuff behind me. It just hasn't resonated. I mean, when we talk about Avatar in the house, you know what we talk about? We talk about we talk about the ride at Disney World.
Yeah.
That we love more than the movie itself. I mean, my daughters have seen the movie, and the movie's, yeah, it's okay. It's there. It's long. It's got a lot of blue in it. It's got a lot of nice colors and special effects, which have now been at this point trounced by other films. But it's just something that it doesn't really resonate, with a lot of people, but with some it does, and that's enough right now to go ahead and retake the number one spot. With the audience in China wanting to go back to the theaters in big numbers, they're gonna spike those numbers, and it will be tough for a re-release of Avengers Endgame there, or even if it's re-released here. Which by the way, if you go to @PopCultureCosmo on Twitter, you will hopefully send the message to Marvel, because I put out a tweet already saying re-release Endgame, hoping everybody will get on that bandwagon and help us out, because I know you and I really like the fact that Avengers Endgame was a culmination of 10 years of hard work by Marvel to go
Hmm.
ahead and put this storyline together. I really think it deserves to be the number one movie of all time, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had a legacy that was worth breaking records, whereas Avatar is just it won't go away. And granted, I will probably go see Avatar 2 and 3, but like this just does not it's not worthy of its crown.
Yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, just on your update on what Cameron has done as far as Avatar 2, has done as far as Avatar 2 and Avatar 3. Avatar 2, he was quoted as saying in recent news articles that it's done
It's
100%.
Yeah.
And I think 3 is up to 95% done. So, I mean, he's ahead of the game there. Don't know how much it costs. Don't think I want to know how much it costs right now. But yeah, he's got at least 2 and 3 virtually done. So that's good news for Avatar fans out there. But I wanted to ask you this. I mean, obviously, both you and I want Avengers Endgame to regain that spot, and hopefully one day it will. I'm hoping that there will be a re-release that will get fans excited to go ahead and put Avengers Endgame over the top again. But let's say they don't, or let's say they do. I mean, let's say that we have it at number one, whatever, whether it's Avatar or Avengers Endgame. The last question I want to go ahead before we hit the break is this: should there be, or will there be another movie that comes along in the current theater climate in the next 5, 7, maybe for the rest of the decade, let's say, that will come along that will fascinate audiences enough that will surpass it? I mean, the market has changed even so much since Avengers Endgame comes out, as far as the importance of streaming. The coronavirus hit, people are reluctant to go back to theaters. And then, even when things get better, again, it goes back to people, I'll just wait for streaming. I'll wait for it to hit Disney Plus, or I'll wait for it to hit HBO Max, or I'll wait for it to hit Netflix. You have that type of mentality now that'll come out on the other side of this. You started a lot of this conversation way back when you thought the marketplace was going to trend towards that. So I want to ask you again, do you see another motion picture? Do you see another movie? Do you see another film that captivates an audience so much that it will reach that level of success as Avatar or even Avengers Endgame, that will get in that echelon of films
Right.
at
I
the box office per se, at the box
Yeah,
office?
not in this climate. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I definitely think that it's possible, but again, like we're looking at such weird circumstances. Like again, Avatar is toppling box office records because it is re-released, and it's being re-released because theaters have been shut down. Theaters have been shut down because of COVID. So I don't see a scenario happening again where a movie is able to really top that. At least not something that is localized to theaters. Like maybe if they were able to count how many people are streaming this, how many people are going to the theaters to see this, like they're combining those two things, like that could be a whole other story in itself. But like as far as box office numbers goes, I don't see the circumstances existing for a really long time that would allow this to happen again.
Well, I certainly hope that there will be something that at least sparks our conversation, because when Avengers Endgame came out, I mean, that was the culmination of so much hard work, like I was saying earlier, for Marvel. But
Yeah.
that was a source of conversation for you and I, week in, week out. That was a source of conversation for millions of people out there, week in, week out. How well is it going to do? How good is this movie? How much of how will it lay out the future for superhero films? I mean, so much was riding on Avengers Endgame to be a good film
Yeah.
and to be something that people would go ahead and flock to. And it did that. It met those expectations. I mean, it's rare that a film that goes into it meets all the hype, and it did. I think even if you say, okay, it was an okay film, or it's running a little bit too long, I know there's always those people out there that believe that, and that's your opinion, and obviously if that's the case, no problem. But you got to respect the fact that for a lot of people it did meet those expectations, and that's a very hard thing for a movie to do.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like me, I don't think the circumstances for something like that are going to happen again for a really long time. Especially your point to your point, like the expectations of films have changed so much because we're in a really like film culture, video game culture, like it's all become very toxic. Everyone
Yeah.
has a negative thing to say about this or that. No one actually like respects the process and creativity that it requires to make something like this anymore. So, as if our culture does not have some kind of drastic shift, I don't see I don't see this happening again. I just like I see little small releases, but nothing
Or
quite.
you'll see an event. You'll see an event film.
You'll
Let's
see an
say like the
event
next
film.
event. Yeah, like the
Yeah,
next. Let's say the next Avengers, my friend. But the next Avengers will only because of the the current climate that we're in. Let's say it comes out in 5 years. Even in 5 years down the line, with streaming being at the level it will be at, because HBO Max just announced that they plan on being, by that time, they'll be what, 120, 140 million viewers in. Disney Plus will be over 200 million. Netflix could be over essentially 300 million at that
right.
rate, as far as users that are out there, especially if they cut their password protection.
Yeah, that's
Yes, has been talked about recently by
yeah.
them and tested out. People can't share their passwords anymore. I know a lot of people are bummed about that. But if that's the case, my friend, I think the expectations for a movie like an Avengers or an event movie per se, the expectations might be, if it hits $2 billion,
Yeah.
that might be the best thing ever for because it's going to be a much different climate going forward.
Right. And again, like the infrastructure is going to look a lot different too, with things hitting streaming services at the same time. So yeah, I don't know if
Or that window closing, as far as
right.
it used to be like what, 6 months, or remember the old days, it used to be like 9 months before it hit a bit, became a DVD or a
Yeah.
videotape or anything like that. Yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the big factor here is we're waiting to see as AMC reopens its theaters, like, is there going to be a reason to go to the movies? It doesn't matter if the theaters are open or not if these companies aren't putting anything into them.
Black Widow comes out on May the 7th.
So
Bob Chapek,
so far,
still, so far,
yeah,
I think they will stick to the May 7th date. I really think that it's almost too far along to go ahead and say no. I
yeah,
think it's going to come out straight to theaters. I don't think there will be a day and date release because of what we've seen from Raya and the Last Dragon.
yeah,
Raya and the Last Dragon got really hurt at the box office, even though it's a very good movie from all the accounts. It got really hurt. Cinemark, the third largest U.S. chain, didn't pick up that title because of the fact that it was streaming day and date on Disney Plus with the premiere access, and you have to pay extra $30 for it.
yeah,
So if Disney tries to do something similar with Black Widow, then there's going to be another theater chain that probably does the same thing again, and that will hurt it at the box office. So I agree with you, my friend. The landscape has changed, as again you surmised 2 years ago that it was going to do, and coming out of it, coming on the other side of the coronavirus, or coming out the side of this part of the way we watch and view entertainment, there is probably no longer going to be one film or one movie for a long time
yeah,
that is going to resonate with an audience, unless the worldwide audiences pick up the slack for the U.S. Because the U.S. audience that's going to be going to box office movie, or going to be going to the movies, is going to decrease what it was over 2018 and 2019.
yeah,
The international audience may increase because they will be more apt to go to the theaters, but as long as the advent of streaming is getting and growing, and the push for streaming is there, I really think that it's going to be very difficult for a movie to reach the heights of an Avengers Endgame or Avatar.
oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, it's these are such unprecedented times, and it's almost not fair to future films. Exactly what's going on right now, but we'll see if normalcy ever becomes a thing again, or if this is just the landscape has changed permanently. We don't know, and we probably won't know for another year, maybe two.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend. But again, Avatar, I'm crying on the radio. Number one again over Avengers Endgame. We're not happy about it. So Marvel, please re-release Avengers Endgame, and you will get. I mean, it's growing right now on social media. So hopefully there'll be enough of a social media fervor, just like we saw for the Snyder Cut, that we will hopefully get a re-release of Avengers Endgame. So it will ultimately, or hopefully, so it will hopefully become number one all time once again. What are your thoughts on Avatar regaining its place at number one of the all-time movie list for box office receipts. Shares your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos at pop at shares your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Are you really digging the fact that Avatar is now again the number one movie all time at the box office? Shares your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, we're going to be talking about it's our yearly pitch meeting on ideas for IPs we would like to see made into movies or TV series. And after that, we'll talk about what we think might get nominated for Oscars, and also the anti-Oscars, the Razzies. Those nominations were announced. We're going to go ahead and speculate on who might win those Razzies coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford along with my good friend, Josh Peterson. Josh, I think it's time to go ahead to our corporate building here at Pop Culture Cosmos. It's time to go ahead and get into the corporate boardroom once again. We do this pretty much once a year, if not more sometimes, but we do this at least once a year where we go ahead and get together. The corporate suits, per se. I'm getting on my corporate suit right now, putting on my tie and all that. It's time we go ahead and sit down and hash things out because it's our pitch meeting time, my friends. So it's time to pitch to you, or you pitch to me, your ideas on IPs, because Hollywood has such a hard time thinking of some original thoughts out there. So we're going to have to come to grips with that. They love going back in time and taking things from pop culture that have already happened and rehashing it out and bringing out something fresh. A lot of the stuff doesn't come out well for us. Some of it does, but I want to hear your thoughts on some IPs you're thinking of. Go ahead, pitch it to me, man. Pitch it to me on some things, on some IPs you would like to see as a movie or TV series. And you must specify if you want to see it as one or the other.
Oh, geez, that's rough. Okay, I'm a pitch slap you right here. You ready?
Okay, pitch slap me indeed. Oh.
So I am a firm believer that Gears of War should still be made into something. Like, I don't necessarily think a movie, and I definitely don't want Lynn Wiseman touching this movie.
I know Dave Bautista has specifically said, and I think he would be awesome at this as a Marcus Phoenix. He would play the role beautifully. Come on.
Damn ammo. Yeah, no, he would be great. I would like to see it made into a streaming show. Like, I keep thinking about Halo. Like, what other video games would be amazing for a streaming platform? And I definitely think that Gears could be something that could have very very beautiful results.
I am very interested as well, my friend, that something like that could happen. That's a very good idea for starters. You're warming me up, my friend, on it. I'm thinking that might be a good idea. I might be telling the assistants here to let's run with that. So call the agents. But that's a pretty good idea, my friend. Using Gears of War out there. Any more IPs that come to mind that you might think might work out as a movie or a television series?
So I am okay. So a while back, I think this was 2010, 2011. A British film company tried to make a Solomon Kane film with James Purefoy, and it never saw an overseas release, but you can watch it now on Netflix. The film was not very good, but there is a whole lot of mythology in that character made by Robert E. Howard, who also did Conan the Barbarian, that could serve especially well in our time, especially when religion is being put under a microscope, right? And what does it mean? How does the common man live up to this ideal of what modern people, especially portrayed by the media, believe being religious entails? And I think that would be a great property for a capable filmmaker to get their hands on. Have you ever read the stories or comic books or any of that stuff revolving around Solomon Kane? He's basically it's like Supernatural, especially with like looking how good Supernatural did. That's what Solomon Kane is, but he just does it in a different century.
That's true, but Supernatural kind of overstayed its welcome.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, this would have to be like like a 12 episode run, maybe something that hits the old HBO Max. But let me do a twofer for you while we're talking about literature.
Okay, you're putting this down. You're putting this down. You're slamming your fist right there on the corporate desk. And
yes.
I take it back. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Lovecraft County it's an amazing show. I've seen the first
Yes.
episode. I'm making my way through it. I think that Lovecraft, and I know that he has been, canceled in modern culture, but I think that At the Mountains of Madness would be an incredible film. I know that Guillermo del Toro was going to do it, and then he said that Prometheus was too close to what At the Mountains of Madness would have been, but I still think that like this it would be such a cool movie. Like it has all the makings of just this epic sci-fi piece that could really it could be the next Alien film, like in terms of like pop culture phenomenons go.
That's pretty good as well. I mean, Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft, like you said, Lovecraft County is one of my best shows of last year. It's done very, very well for HBO and HBO Max. I highly recommend it as a great series to watch. And there's been a little bit of Lovecraft seeping into certain projects over the past few years as far as the type of look, feel, and stories that emanate from it. So I can't say I understand that the individual himself and some of his writings are not acceptable and yes, part of cancel culture. But I could see that happening. I could see that if you do it right and obviously have the right actors play those roles, I could see something like that being put on the screen if it's done in an acceptable fashion.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more for you. Are you ready? This is my
Oh,
last
okay.
my last
All
one.
right,
This is
all
my
right, all
last
right. I'm
one.
getting
My
straighten up
last one.
I'm straightening up my tie. I'm straightening up my tie. Okay, here we
Okay.
go. All right.
So we saw Kristen Stewart's performance in Underwater, right? It's like aliens underwater. That got me thinking, would it not be rad? Okay, not in a I don't think that I got no love for like movies right now, so I think everything would be good streaming. Solomon Kane, probably good movie, not streaming.
Well, series are something that they want to lean into. The streaming
So
services are out there. They want series more than movies because series, again, you could like we're seeing with Disney. You put that over 6 to 9 weeks, and you've got content for all those weeks.
okay, so here's my last pitch for you. Get your pitchfork ready and scoop it up.
You're gonna pitch slap me, pitch slap me.
Okay, you got that pitch slap coming in. I think that a series, HBO Max series of Dead Space would be just fantastic and flabbergasting and frightening.
I'm gonna leave that long F in there.
Well, there's I have never played a game like Dead Space in my life. Like I've never played a game that has literally kept me on the edge of my seat, terrified out of my wits, but also like I can't stop playing this because the mythology in this game is so deep and I need to know more. Even though these fetus blade babies are running through the air vents and stuff, like I need to know more. And so I think that a Dead Space series, a 12 episode, so there's 3 games, 12 episodes for each season would be, or 8. You could probably go anywhere between 8 and 12. A series for each game, or sorry, a season for each of the games could very well surpass even The Witcher in terms of popularity.
I agree with you on that, but I have one question for you.
What?
If that's the case and you want Dead Space, I mean, there's always something in Dead Space that's very creepy and that's about ready to go ahead around any corner and kill you out there. But what's the one thing that kills Dead Space?
EA.
Yeah. Yep, we knew it. It took you a sec, but yes,
Yeah.
Yes, EA does definitely kill Dead Space, but again, that's Electronic Arts for you. But
the aliens could all be EA executives.
yes, something like that. But I think that would be a good series as a horror anthology. I think that's something that might work. But again, it would be maybe something in the realm of a Stranger Things type feel. How about something like that?
I can dig that.
There you go. All right. Well, those are some great pitches right there for you. Very great pitches out there for you. I have got a couple myself. Okay, so we're back in the meeting once again. Your meetings were a success. Your meeting was a success. Your pitch ideas, we're going ahead and we're going to go and run to series order on every one of them. They're excellent. I mean, I just had to say, you know what, we're going to go provide funding for you. We're going to go ahead and contact agents to get stars in there. Just truly a great time as far as for that's concerned. A great pitch meeting for you, very successful. You can pat yourself on the back, give yourself a corporate lunch. So you're already set on that with all your great pitches right there. Now it's back to my turn the next week for a new pitch meeting. So I'm pitching you as the CEO. So get your tie on, my friend. Get your tie on. Get that corporate suit going. We're at the next pitch meeting with my thoughts, and I've got two. I've got two for you because you threw a whole bunch out there that I think a lot of people would enjoy if they ever come to fruition, if they ever come to production. I've got a couple in mind. First one, you said the words, "Do you want to know more?" during our last conversation. And the words, "Do you want to know more?" are very poignant on my first pitch. So get ready for this pitch slap. Do you want to know more about a possible Starship Troopers series? That's a long dormant film, a cult film that many people have seen since its first release. I know Paul Verhoeven, the director of Starship Troopers, back in 2016, thought about reviving the Starship Troopers brand. I know there was two made for home video movies that were made afterwards, and also an animated feature, but I don't think really anybody really saw those.
Bad. They were so bad.
Yeah, they were pretty bad, but I think the series is ripe, my friend, for I think the IP is ripe for a series to build upon something where the bugs, after a successful war per se, 10, 15 years later, everything is good and groovy now in the universe. Humankind is now starting to branch out once again after their victory over the bugs, and everything is good. But then all of a sudden, they're back. The bugs come back, and they come back with a vengeance, taking out another part of the earth. Last time it was Buenos Aires. You could go ahead and start another area, or you could go and say the bugs devastate another part of the planet, and you could build upon that. But this time it's going to be a little bit different, where the senior officers in place are all, well, whoever's left, who was ever left alive from the original movie, from the previous. So Denise Richards, what's his name from I Met My Mother? Doogie Howser.
Oh yeah. If you didn't ask me that question, I would have been able to tell you.
Yeah. Okay. So you know who I'm talking about. Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris. Obviously, Johnny Rico himself, Casper Van Dien. I mean, those three will be in it. A lot of people who were left alive from the film, you bring them back as far as for guest starring or co-starring appearances. But you build a new crew, a new younger crew, and you show two storylines. One storyline of the younger crew and how they build from, let's say, high school again, going from back to the cheesy high school days, that those parts that were really funny to look at and were really mocking those high school shows like 90210 at the time. And you could go ahead and build that into where they go to boot camp once again and build towards their efforts going into war, but also from a hierarchy standpoint, which wasn't really covered too much in the film, as far as Neil Patrick Harris, Denise Richards, and Casper Van Dien in separate areas of the armed forces doing their thing, but being the masterminds and trying to plan out a defense against these bugs. And then you go this time deeper into it about not only visiting more planets, because they didn't visit very many planets in the film. You could go out and go to a new location each and every time, or also eventually even have the bugs invade Earth.
Yes, I would be on board for that. I've been
thinking about this one. I
could tell you got a brewing. The only issue with your pitch is that Neil Patrick Harris would not be able to be in this one because he got the brain bug spike right through the center of his head.
No, that wasn't Neil Patrick Harris. That was Patrick Muldowney. Neil Patrick Harris was there talking at the end. Oh. Watch the movie again,
okay.
Man.
All right. Okay.
Neil Patrick Harris was part of the, I guess the the government, the top echelon. He was the top government scientist.
Okay.
But put him in a position of Sky Marshal or maybe a Vice Sky Marshal, and have him take over as Sky Marshal through a failure, because you got to have a failure for the humankinds at some point, like they did in the film. So have him take over as Sky Marshal somewhere in the series, and have him go ahead and map this out. Plus Denise Richards, she's guiding the Space Force, because she's become an admiral in the Space Force per se, because just progression of where she's gone at and what she wanted to do, because she wanted to become career in the movie. She wanted to become career if you saw the movie. And then Casper Van Dien is the army guy. You could have him leading the armed forces, either as a part of the Roughnecks, the leader of the Roughnecks, or as someone who's leading the troops overall. So it would be an interesting dynamic to see not only the familiar faces, but also a different storyline that you focus the other half on, and that is a younger crop of Starship Troopers, and you could build their stories from there.
Well, I think that's a good idea. You look at like Starship Troopers was a product of like really heavy socio-political themes, and I think that
and it's also cheesy, very tongue in cheek.
Yeah, well, it was mocking not just politics, but like a lot of things in 80s and 90s culture, and I think that there's a lot to make fun of in modern culture with a cool twist on it. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that being a good idea. It would have so my concern with this would be that hopefully the last two straight to DVD films weren't so atrocious that they would ruin any
you just
interest
retcon
in
it.
this.
Just retcon it.
Okay, then yes, I could definitely get behind this idea, because
retcon the animated film, retcon the two horrible sequels that went straight to DVD, because nobody really watched them outside of you.
Yeah. Okay. I am on board for this, because I would love to go back to that universe. That's a great idea.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I get a raise. I get a raise.
Okay,
Yes,
you get a gold star.
There you go. I don't know who has the rights to Starship Troopers. Was it TriStar? Had it before? I don't know who has it right now. I don't know if it's on any streaming outlet or anything like that. I don't know who owns the streaming rights to it. But yeah, somebody out there. I mean, Starship Troopers. It's a match made in heaven for a great series. I think it's something that you could go and make into multiple seasons already. You can develop those characters. You can develop the situation with the bugs. It just would provide a lot of great entertainment over, let's say, a 2, 3, 4, 5 season story arc with maybe 7 to 9 episodes each and every time out. So I think that would be great. The last thing I would want to say is a world and a universe that is already built up for you, and that's the Elder Scrolls. With the success of The Witcher, the only thing you don't have is you don't have a title character that is already established as far as an IP is concerned, but you have the world there, Cyrodiil, the whole 9 yards, it's all there for you, laid out, from Morrowind, of course, Oblivion, and of course Skyrim. You have that world already laid out for you. I think having or finding a hero, coming up with a good hero or heroes per se, I think you could definitely just come up with something that would work for that. I mean, the universe is there. It just needs someone to go ahead and steer through it, that could navigate through it for a great series.
Okay, so do you think that maybe like a POV story like Game of Thrones would be good for something like this?
Possibly. Or again, like The Witcher. I think emulating it like The Witcher would probably be better, because I think if you're trying to get closer to the story. I mean, if you try to do it more Game of Thronesy like, I don't know if the political intrigue side of it. I mean, you can.
Well, not saying political stuff. I'm just saying that have a story that takes the point of view of like 4 or 5 different characters.
Yeah, that would work. I mean, obviously you do it as a multiple party thing. I think having just one title hero like The Witcher in this case, I'm not sure would work as well, because then people would say it's a ripoff of The Witcher. I think if you had a group or a party, like you were saying, like you do in Elder Scrolls Online, even though that's not the most popular game out there, it's still something you could emulate, because the world and the universe is there. All the things you can do and that have been done in the Elder Scrolls games would lead you to go ahead and say, you know what, you could build a universe. There's something there that you can build off of.
Yeah, the mythology is definitely rich enough. I would be interested in it. I would be reserved about it, because The Witcher is kind of the first time that fantasy thing has been from video games has been done like well. So it would have to be done really well. But I see that there's a ton of potential in an idea like that, and I would be really excited and hopeful, but I would still be like scared.
Well, there you go. Elder Scrolls in developmental hell for 10 years. It may come out of it, it may not, but Starship Troopers for us is a go. So 1 out of 2 for me isn't bad. I'll take that. That's a good ratio in Hollywood if that's the case, because of all the ideas that get thrown out that never come to fruition. So you know what? I will take that from our pitch meetings. What are your thoughts out there on our latest pitch meetings here at Pop Culture Cosmos? Did you like the IPs and sources that we took for series or possible series and or movies out there? And if do you have one of your own? Do you have 1 or 2 or 3 IPs out there that you would love to see translated into a series or a movie? Shares your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, it is a little bit of a smidgen of an interview that Josh had with John and Jason from Lost Cult Publishing, which you will catch the entire episode of on Wednesday right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. And that's coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And once again, that's Josh Peterson, his interview with Josh and Jason from Lost Cult Publishing. Go ahead and check that out on Wednesday right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, wherever you get your podcasts. Well, my friend, 2 quick things before we head on out. The first is Oscar nominations will be announced by the time you hear this. I know, if there's any 1 or 2 items, individuals, movies, categories that you want to see, or movies, or any performances per se that you want to see nominated for an Oscar and ultimately win, because we'll have our Oscar prediction show later on when as it gets closer to the Oscars. But I want to hear your thoughts on if there's 1 or 2 performances or movies out there that you feel should be nominated. What would that be?
So there's very little that like was of note from last year. I'm looking at my movie list here, and like I'm not seeing a lot. Like I obviously was a huge fan of Class Action Park. Like if there was I don't know, is there a documentary?
There is, I believe there is a documentary.
Okay, so yeah, I would love to see that get a nomination.
Yes. That was our number one. That was our number 1 movie of last year. So absolutely.
Outside of that, like there was really nothing that like I would care to like say. I think Onward was pretty good, but outside that, like there's not really anything that like really stuck out as having excellent performances.
I think Soul is worthy of a nomination for best animated picture. I think we went back and forth on that. You liked Onward a little bit more than Soul. I like Soul a little bit more than Onward. I think that Soul for me would be one. I think both will end up being on that nominations list per se. So we'll see what happens if our thoughts are true on that. I think Maria Bakalova from Borat 2 not only should be nominated, but should win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. I think that's what she should be on there. Maybe even Best Actress. It doesn't matter to me. Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress, either one. I think she should be nominated, and I think she should win. Sacha Baron Cohen, if you want to go ahead and nominate him, because I know he won a Golden Globe, but I really think her performance is the one thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that like what they nominated Giuliani for a bunch of stuff at the Razzies too. So
well, we'll hold on that. Wait on that a second.
So I think Borat will get its time in the award show spotlight either way, for good or bad things.
I got either good or bad, but yes, Maria Bakalova was sensational in that film. I know she got a Golden Globe nomination. I'm hoping that she will also get an Oscar nomination and that she will ultimately win. I also think that Oscars should pay tribute to not only one but both great performances for the late Chadwick Boseman for Da 5 Bloods and of course Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I think both of those films deserve praise and might want to see both those on the best film list. Hopefully we will. I know Nomadland is probably right now here in Vegas the top odds maker as far as best film overall. So I know that will have a lot of nominations, but I think Chadwick Boseman and the love people have for him and the respect that they have for what he did and the great performances that he left us with, I think he's going to have at least one, possibly 2 nominations coming up.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I didn't watch a lot of movies from last year, so I don't really have any more thoughts on the Oscar contender. Sonic the Hedgehog is something I did enjoy, so maybe that could be nominated for something. But that's all I got for you, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. A video game movie
It,
being nominated? Could that actually happen?
hey, we'll see. I mean, it got enough attention, so anything's possible, especially with 2020 movies the way they were.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens as the Oscar nominations come out. We will go ahead and put a post on our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page. Look for it. That will have a listing of all the nominations for the Oscars. So look out for it on Monday as you hear this. In fact, you could probably look at it while you're listening to us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But we want to hear your thoughts, who you want to see nominated for an Oscar, what pictures, what films, what actors. Tell us exactly, or what stood out, what directors, any artist as far as it's concerned that had something that they put out last year that you want to see nominated. We want to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, my friend, it's been a great episode. But before we head on out, the anti-Oscars, as you had mentioned, the Razzie nominations, those were already announced in advance of the Oscars, as they always do, and they will also the weekend of the Oscars. I think the day before is when they announced who won these. Oh, excuse me, who won, and I put that in quotations there. The Razzies that comes out the day before the Oscars. I want to list to you the Razzie nominees as of right now in some of the major categories. Worst Picture, 365 Days, Absolute Proof, Doolittle, Fantasy Island, and Music. Worst Actor, Robert Downey Jr. for Doolittle, Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, for Absolute Proof, Michelle Marone for 365 Days, Adam Sandler for Hubie Halloween, David Spade for The Wrong Missy, Worst Actress, Anne Hathaway, The Last Thing He Wanted, and Ronald Dahl's The Witches, Katie Holmes, Brahms The Boy 2, and The Secret Dare to Dream. I just don't think they like Katie Holmes for some reason. But
Yeah, it seems to be a common theme.
yeah, she seems to be there a lot. Kate Hudson for music, Lauren Lapkus, The Wrong Missy, Anna Maria Cycluga for 365 Days, and then it goes on from there. But yeah, the one I like the best also as well is Worst Screen Combo, and they get creative with this. So Maria Bakalova and Rudy Giuliani bore subsequent movie film. Robert Downey Jr. and his utterly unconvincing Welsh accent in Doolittle. Wonder what they think about him in Sherlock Holmes. Harrison Ford and that totally fake-looking CGI dog in Call of the Wild. Lauren Lapkus and David Spade, The Wrong Missy, and Adam Sandler and his grating simpleton voice in Hubie Halloween. I think, well, let me check here. I think there is a listing for Adam Sandler on how many exactly he has been nominated for. It's in the 30s. I know that. I read that it's in the 30s. I can't look it up right now. But yeah, Adam Sandler has been nominated for Razzies, if you can call nominated a thing, over 30 times. I guess he has fun with it, but sometimes it's well deserved. I mean, he puts that stuff out there. It gets a lot of views, and obviously that's the most important thing because Netflix absolutely loves the stuff that he puts out. But for every great performance that he has to go through like 3 or 4 of these that are just they're not only Razzie worthy, but they're just you know they're just awful, man. They're just awful, but people love them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to respect him because he makes the films that he wants to make. Like he could give no cares about any of the things going on in Hollywood. The man makes what he wants to make. Like there's no agenda, there's no outside influence. He just puts pen to paper and then people on camera.
I mean, Adam Sandler does have great performances in him. I mean, people don't think he's a good actor. They see that he gets Razzies each and every year, and he puts out the stuff. And his voice, and his voice like that, and everybody talks about how bad. Obviously, worthy another Razzie, but every now and then he shows you how good of an actor he is. With Uncut Gems that came out in 2019, that was a brilliant performance, an absolutely brilliant performance that was captivating and was deserving of an Oscar nomination in and of itself. I think he got a Redeemer Award for that from the Razzies. That's the one I like to see most because that tells a good story of an actor who saw hard times and it went out of their way to go ahead and do something special that they go out of their way at the Razzies to recognize. So I like the Redeemer Award, and whoever wins that each and every year.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any of these films that have been nominated outside of Wonder Woman, so I don't I think there are some that Wonder Woman deserves, but
Yeah, because Kristen Wiig was also, as a supporting actress, was nominated for this. So yeah,
yeah.
there's Wonder Woman 1984 was it's also listed under worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. My money's on Doolittle though. I really think Doolittle's my favorite to win a lot of Razzies.
Yeah.
That and Rudy Giuliani. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Doolittle. I mean, that's such a shame that that's Robert Downey Jr.'s like first thing outside of Avengers.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's a cash grab, man. That's nothing but a cash grab.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts out there on the Razzies and who was nominated for this year's Razzies nominations list? We'll actually have a post on that as well to go ahead and catch you up on who was the worst of the worst with the Razzies this year. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I cannot thank you enough, as always, for being part of it. Stay tuned next week, because next week on the 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live from PodVComm. That's PodVComm, a great podcasting convention. Myself, Josh, and Marcus will be here talking about Justice League. We'll be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It'll be awesome. We'll have those conversations. We'll actually go into spoilers then. So if you haven't seen it by then, please check it out on our Sunday taping, or next Monday when we air it on the Pop Culture Cosmos, and all week long next week. Please go ahead. We will go into spoilers on both Justice League and the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Coming up this Friday, I'm going to have a special guest host coming on, because Marcus is going to be off this week celebrating his birthday. So big shout out to Marcus. But we will be talking early thoughts on the Justice League, and also as well previewing the Falcon and Winter Soldier. But my friend, it's been an awesome episode once again. Any last thoughts on the way out?
I don't think so. We covered quite a bit of things today.
Do want to thank everybody who is watching us on Twitch. Cannot thank you enough for doing so, for spending time on our brand spanking revamped Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Please check out all the awesome RPG games that we play each and every week on Twitch at Pop Culture Cosmos. YouTube, we're putting up videos there now. In fact, even showing live RPG games there as well. And of course on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great